When my wife's brother started using my equipment without asking, I drew the line. He said, "You think you own everything?" My wife backed him. "You're not exactly irreplaceable." That night, I unlocked my storage unit and removed everything I bought, but what I left behind was even more damaging. I'm 38, live in Yakima, Washington, and I've run a custom woodworking business out of my garage for the last 11 years. Cabinets, tables, doors, you name it. I've spent over a decade building up my tools, my skills, my customers. Everything I own, I earned with long hours, busted hands, and quiet discipline. I'm not flashy. I'm not loud. But I take pride in what I've built. I met Marlene when I was 28. She was the kind of person who filled a room. She laughed hard, talked fast, and didn't care what people thought. She liked that I was steady, said I was different from the losers she usually dated. I didn't say much, but I listened. She liked to talk, so it worked. We got married 2 years later. At the time, she had a decent job working in insurance. Nothing big, but it paid the bills. I handled most of the house repairs, the car stuff, groceries. She liked to go out. I liked to stay in the garage. Still, we made it work. Everything changed when her brother, Connor, came to stay with us. Connor was 25, just out of the situation in Portland he never explained in detail. Marlene said he got mixed up with bad roommates, couldn't hold a job, and needed a clean start. She wanted him to live with us just for a little while until he found his footing. I wasn't thrilled. I've never been close to my own family, let alone hers, but I didn't want to start a fight over it. So I agreed on the condition that it was temporary. He moved into our spare room and immediately acted like he owned the place. Left dishes in the sink, took forever in the shower, ate anything in the fridge, and never offered to replace a damn thing. He didn't even pretend to look for work. He sat on the couch watching TV or playing games on his phone all day. I tried to be polite at first, gave him space, gave him time, but it got worse when he started going into my garage. That garage is mine, not ours, not the family space. It's where I work, where I think, where I've spent thousands of hours building something out of nothing. The first time I noticed something was off, I came home and saw sawdust on my workbench. I hadn't been in there all day. At first, I thought maybe I left something unfinished. Then I saw one of my clamps moved, a chisel lying out. I asked Marlene about it. She said, "Oh, Connor's messing around with a wood project. He said he used a couple things." I told her, "He can't use my stuff. That's expensive equipment. It's not a toy." She waved it off. "He's just trying to make a table. It's harmless." That pissed me off. Harmless. One wrong move on a band saw, and you lose a hand. And my tools. Some of them cost more than his damn car. I went to Connor and told him, clearly, "Don't touch my tools without asking. That garage is my workspace, not a hangout." He gave me this fake smile. Yeah. No problem. Next day, my finished brushes were ruined. My glue was spilled. One of my chisels was gone, and the floor looked like a tornado hit it. I was seeing red. I stormed inside and held the ruined brush up to Marlene. "Are you kidding me with this?" I asked. She barely looked up from her phone. "What? Your brother's wrecking my shop." She said, "He's just trying to build something. You don't have to make it a big deal." A big deal. That's a $40 brush, and he spilled half a $100 bottle of glue. Then she said the thing that flipped the switch in me. "You think you own everything?" I just stared at her. I didn't even know how to respond. And then quieter, almost like she didn't want to say it out loud. "You're not exactly irreplaceable." That one hit like a punch I wasn't expecting. I didn't say anything else. I went outside, sat in my truck, and just stared at the garage at what I had built. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept playing her words over and over in my head, not irreplaceable, like I was just a piece of furniture, like none of it mattered. I got up at 5 a.m. before anyone else was awake. I backed the truck up to the garage and opened the door. I stood there for a moment. It felt like walking into someone else's house after it had been broken into. I took everything, every tool, every saw, every bit, every blade, all of it. I loaded it up, drove it to my storage unit on the other side of town, and unloaded everything into the space I had set up just in case I ever needed a backup workspace. By 8 a.m., the garage was empty, but I left one thing behind. I went to a buddy who runs a print shop that a sign made big block letters on a black background, "Not yours." I screwed it into the garage wall right where my workbench used to be. Then I went to work like nothing happened. By noon, my phone was blowing up. Text from Marlene. "Where is all your stuff? What the hell is going on?" I ignored it. When I got home, she was waiting in the living room, arms crossed. Connor was pacing behind her, all red in the face. "You seriously emptied the garage?" she snapped. "I took what belonged to me," I said. "You didn't even tell me." "I didn't think I needed permission." "You said I don't own everything, right? So I figured I better hold on to what I do." Connor jumped in. "Dude, you're being psycho. I barely used anything." I looked at him. "You wrecked $300 worth of supplies and lied about it." He shrugged. "It's just stuff." Marlene stepped between us. "You're making this worse than it is." "I built that shop with my own money," I said. "Not yours. Not his. Mine." "I didn't complain when you asked him to stay. I didn't complain when he ate our groceries or left messes. But that shop was mine, and you both crossed a line." Then she said it again. "You're not irreplaceable." I walked out that night quiet. No yelling. I packed some clothes, grabbed my laptop, and left. And that was just the beginning. I crashed on a cot in the back of Kevin's print shop that night. He's a good friend, someone I've known since high school. He didn't ask questions. Just handed me a beer and said, "Stay as long as you need." I didn't talk much, but I think he saw it in my face. I was done. 2 days passed before Marlene showed up. She didn't call, didn't text, just pulled into the parking lot while I was sanding a new table I was working on. She walked in like nothing had happened. "You really want to do this?" she asked. "Throw everything away?" I didn't stop working. "You already did." Her face twisted like I'd slapped her. "You're being so dramatic. Over a couple tools." "That couple tools is how I make a living. You let your brother steal from me and called it harmless. He's family, and I'm not." She looked down, didn't answer. I finally put the sander down. "If it had been the other way around, if someone touched your stuff without asking, wrecked it, and I defended them, how would you feel?" She didn't say anything. I stepped closer. "You let him trash something I built with my bare hands. You made excuses. And when I said I had enough, you said I wasn't irreplaceable. That's what did it." Her voice cracked a little. "I didn't mean that." "Yeah. You did. And you still haven't apologized." She left after that. No tears. No begging. Just walked back to her car. But Connor? That clown tried to call me later that night. Said, "You took everything." She's freaking out. "You happy now?" I hung up on him. Next day, I started getting calls from people we knew, mutual friends, neighbors. Word was spreading. Marlene had been telling people I overreacted and abandoned her. She even posted something vague on Facebook about being betrayed. I kept quiet. Instead, I focused on rebuilding. Kevin offered me part of his backroom to convert into a temporary workshop. I brought in my tools from storage, took on small jobs. Old clients came back. One even said, "Heard what happened. You handled it right." But the real twist came 2 weeks later. I got an email from a guy named Dave. We'd worked together a few years back on a kitchen remodel. He now managed a property downtown with an open commercial space. Used to be a boutique store. He said, "Saw your story on Facebook. I've got a spot. Cheap rent. You interested in moving your shop out of the garage permanently?" I met him that afternoon. It was perfect. Big windows. Tall ceilings. Enough space for every tool I owned. And more. For the first time, I saw what could be next. I signed the lease within a week. Meanwhile, things at the house were falling apart. Connor had no job, no money, and no tools to finish the coffee table he started. Neighbors started noticing the empty garage and the fighting. One messaged me privately. "Everything okay over there?" Marlene's brother was screaming in the driveway the other night. I told her I wasn't living there anymore. Then the real storm hit. I got served. Marlene filed for separation, asking for half of our property, including the value of the tools, my business, and even partial ownership of the shop I just leased. She had no idea how business ownership worked. She thought because we were married, she could claim a piece of everything, even stuff I bought years before we met. But I had kept receipts. I had proof of every purchase, every transaction. My business account was separate. I'd done everything by the book. My lawyer laid it out clearly. She doesn't have a case. If anything, she might owe you damages. That's when I decided to push back harder. We filed a countersuit for loss of income due to damaged property, and we named Connor. That's right. I sued my own brother-in-law for using and destroying professional equipment without permission. The lawyer said it was rare, but we had enough documentation, pictures, texts, and witnesses to make it stick. Marlene went silent after that. No more texts. No more Facebook posts. Connor sent me one more message. "This is war, dude. You messed with the wrong family." I didn't reply, but I saved it. Because if he thought that was war, he had no idea what was coming next. About a week after we filed the countersuit, I got a knock on the door of the new shop. I was mid-project, laying out panels for a custom oak desk when Kevin poked his head into the back room and said, "There's a woman out front asking for you. Says her name is Jenna." I didn't recognize the name. I wiped my hands and walked out to the front. Standing there was a woman in her late 30s, short brown hair, business clothes, holding a small folder. She looked nervous, but determined. "You don't know me," she said. "But I know Connor, or I used to." She opened the folder. Inside were screenshots of texts, emails, and a couple of court documents. Restraining orders. One in Portland, one in Vancouver. Both filed against Connor. Different women. She was one of them. Turns out Connor had a history, a real one. Not just laziness and freeloading. He had been kicked out of housing multiple times for threatening behavior. One of the restraining orders was still active. She found my name through an old tagged photo Marlene had posted, a picture from our housewarming years ago. She said she saw my name come up again in a private Facebook group, one where local women warned others about dangerous or manipulative men. Connor's name had been mentioned 3 times in the last month. I was floored. I asked, "Why are you here?" She said, "Because I saw the story online about your tools. The sign, people have been sharing it around." I recognized him immediately. I figured if he's still hurting people, someone should know. She left the folder with me and said, "I hope it helps," and it did. I gave it all to my lawyer. This wasn't just about tools anymore. It was about someone with a pattern of behavior that hurt people, and Marlene had brought him into my home, then defended him. The lawyer added it to our case file, said it might not directly impact the property dispute, but it could shift how the judge viewed character and credibility, especially if this went to a full hearing. A few days later, I got a call from Marlene. First time since we filed everything. I didn't answer. Let it go to voicemail. She left a message. Voice shaky. "I think we need to talk. Things got out of hand. I didn't know about Connor's past. I just wanted to help him. I didn't mean for it to come between us." I played that message for my lawyer. He nodded and said, "She's realizing the damage," but I didn't call her back. I didn't want words anymore. I wanted results. Meanwhile, I got another surprise. One of my old clients, guy named Rick, reached out. He ran a local contracting business and said he saw my story and wanted to help. "You ever thought about teaching?" he asked. "We've got younger guys coming in who don't know their way around real tools. They're just YouTube trained. You could run workshops out of your new shop, charge for weekend courses. I'd send guys your way. At first, I hesitated. I wasn't a teacher, but something about the idea stuck. I started planning, built a few extra workbenches, put together a simple beginner course, basic joinery, safety tool care. Within a week of putting it on Facebook, I had 12 people sign up. Half of them were hobbyists. The other half, young guys trying to build careers. People who respected the craft. The shop started buzzing in a new way. I was rebuilding not just my business, but my community. Back at the legal front, Connor finally showed his true colors. He didn't just respond to the countersuit. He filed his own against me, claimed I'd physically threatened him, said I bullied him out of the house, said I created a hostile living environment, all made up. My lawyer laughed out loud reading the paperwork, but admit we were going to court. Real court. It wasn't just about money anymore. It was about truth. It was about everything that got pushed under the rug for years, and it was about to come out in the open. Court day came fast. I wore clean jeans and a button-down. Didn't try to look flashy, just respectful. My lawyer, Bruce, told me to stay calm and stick to the facts. You don't need to impress the judge, he said. Just let the truth do the work. Connor showed up in a wrinkled suit, smirking, acting like it was some joke. Marlene sat behind him, tight-lipped, avoiding my eyes. When it was my turn, I told the truth. I told them how I built that shop from scratch, how I'd saved every dollar, bought every tool myself. I explained the damage Connor caused, how I warned him, how I left when I realized I wasn't respected in my own home. Bruce brought out the receipts, the pictures, the texts, even the voicemail Marlene left. He showed the judge the folder Jenna gave me. He pointed out the active restraining orders. Connor's face changed when that came up. Like he finally realized this wasn't going his way. Then Connor took the stand and he lied, said I threatened to beat him with a hammer, that I screamed every night and kept weapons around the house, that I made Marlene cry all the time. He even said I tried to sabotage his career. When my lawyer asked what career, he stuttered, said, I was going to be a furniture designer. Bruce handed him a paper. Is this the cease and desist letter you received from a local business owner after you tried to sell knockoffs of his copyrighted designs? Connor froze. Then he mumbled something no one could hear. The judge asked questions. Direct ones. Did you live rent-free in the home? Yes. Did you ever pay for the tools? No. Were you told not to use them? He paused. Yes. Then Marlene took the stand. She looked tired, pale. She said she didn't know about Connor's past, said she just wanted to help her brother. But when the judge asked her about the "you're not irreplaceable" comment, she tried to say I took it out of context. Bruce played the voicemail again. The courtroom was silent. After both sides made closing statements, we waited. A week later, the verdict came in. The judge sided with me on every single count. Marlene got nothing from the business. No share of the tools. No claim to the shop place. Instead, she was held partially responsible for the damage Connor caused, joint liability. The judge ordered Connor to pay $28,000 in damages. He didn't have it. Southwest, the court froze his bank account, garnished any future wages, and placed a lien on any tax returns. But that wasn't all. The court also reported the false claims he made under oath to the DA. He was arrested for perjury 2 months later. Turns out he was already on probation for something back in Portland. Lying in court violated it. He got 6 months in county jail and a warning that one more charge would land him in prison. And Marlene. After the case ended, she sent me one final message. None of this would have happened if you hadn't taken the tools. I didn't answer because it had to happen. It had to fall apart so I could see the truth. But here's where it all paid off. Remember that woodworking class I started? It took off. The local paper ran a story about my new shop titled From Dust to Respect, the craftsman who rebuilt everything. I had waiting lists for my workshops within a month. I hired 2 assistants, opened up the backroom for apprentices. And the best part? That original sign I made, the one that said "Not Yours," I framed it, hung it on the front wall of the new shop right next to the entrance. People ask about it all the time. I tell them the truth. Respect matters. What you build, what you earn, what you protect, it's yours. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I never spoke to Marlene or Connor again. But last I heard, she moved in with a cousin in Tacoma. And Connor? He's flipping burgers in a strip mall an hour out of town. Tried to start a GoFundMe to pay his court fines. It raised $37. And one of the comments? Maybe don't steal from the guy who knows how to cut people off clean. I didn't write it, but I smiled when I read it. Because in the end, revenge doesn't always come with fire and screaming. Sometimes it comes with silence and an empty garage. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your precious time. If you enjoyed this story, then please make sure you subscribe to this channel.